Hey, what's up guys? It's Dave. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about the journey from military to millionaire, as my name states, and some tricks of the trade as far as how to really get rich in the military. There's this misconception that we don't make enough money, and the reality is, I make a pretty decent amount of money out here in Hawaii when you factor in all your benefits and your housing allowance and your food allowance and everything else that comes with being in the military. And we only get taxed on a little percentage of that. So you might look at your W-2 and say, oh man, I don't make any money, but you're really getting this much. You're getting a much bigger piece of the pie that actually comes into your pocket. And if you were to go to civilian world and you were to get the exact same amount of money, it really wouldn't be that much, because instead of only this much being taxed, the whole thing would get taxed. So there's a lot of benefits that come with being military. Now the thing is, you have to know what you're doing with your money. You have to be smart with your money, but you can exit the service. There's nothing that says you can't exit the service with close to $150,000 between your thrift savings plan and your savings account. So today we're going to cover 10 different things that you can do to get rich in the military. I'm going to start small and we're going to gradually move up to the bigger and better ideas. Now I will say that the last idea I'm going to pitch to you is pretty controversial, so please don't take it the wrong way. If the shoe fits, wear it, but just stay tuned to the end and let me know what you think. Be sure to like the content, subscribe, and let me know what you think of all the videos so we can keep producing good content for you. Without further ado, let's talk about getting rich in the military. Alright, so the first thing that you can do to build wealth in the military actually comes as you're entering the service, and that is pick a specialty job. So the Marine Corps is not one where you get to pick your job. So a lot of guys think, oh man, I can't do that. The reality is that some of these better paying jobs like EOD, counter intel, recon, MARSOC, they're jobs that you can get into later on in your career. So you easily can. Now what I mean by pick a specialty job is in the Navy, maybe it's a submariner or nuke guy or whatever, a job where you might get hazard pay or flight pay or dive pay or some extra form of pay, and then take that money and save it, right? So that's number one. The number two way that you can get rich in the military, and I can't stress this enough, is your thrift savings plan. So guys, I know some people like the stock market, some people don't like the stock market, but at the end of the day, it's your retirement account, right? So if you play your cards right with your thrift savings plan and you let it grow and you really max it out that first 4 or 5 years, by the time you're 65, 70, whatever, whenever you start using it, there's going to be enough money in there that you can take a decent, like 4% withdrawal, and you can live comfortably on that without depleting your retirement. The trick is you have to be willing to put more in now than later. So for example, if I had maxed out my thrift savings plan, which is $18,500 every year for my first 4 years in the military, I would be able to get by right now without contributing at all, because I would have enough in there that as compound interest does its magic, there'd be enough for me to retire. I could stop worrying about it, take that money and invest it in my business. Unfortunately, I didn't know that, so I only put 10%, 5%, whatever in, and I don't. So I'm never going to be able to catch up to that, and that it is what it is. I'm currently putting 15% into my thrift savings plan, plus the 5% matching. So I'm putting 20% of my paycheck goes in there, and I'm still never going to catch up. So guys, if you're young and you're joining and they ask you about your TSP, I would suggest putting in 10, 20, 30, percent of your paycheck, plus the matching, and just forget it exists. Now, I will say, do not let your money just sit in the G fund. So they're getting a little better at this. Do your research on funds, but look at, if you don't know enough about funds and different kinds of funds, just allocate all your money into the life cycle. So if you plan on retiring in 2060, put all your money into the life cycle 2060 and let them do it themselves. But if you leave it in the G fund, you may never lose money. It's never lost money before, but you're only going to get like 1% interest. While the C fund has averaged over 10% returns over the last 2 decades. So, tomato, tomato, if you're young, you can afford the risk of the C fund, and it'll exponentially, if you look at the rule of 72, we're talking 2% return, your money doubles every 36 years, 10% return, your money doubles every 7.5 years, 7.2 years. Your money can double like 5 times before it doubles the first time at 1% interest or 2% interest, sorry. And just looking at that and doing the math. Now the life cycle fund takes all the worries out of your hands and just leave it there. If the market recession hits and the market tanks, leave your money there. You'll buy more shares. As it comes back up, it'll go. It is what it is. 4 or 5 years, 6 years, if you max that thing out for like 4 or 5 years, you never touch it again, you'll be fine. I'm going to show the math on that at some point. I'm creating a little book, but just know that if you TSP, get a decent nest egg in there and then set it and forget it. All right, guys, number 3, savings allotment. So instead of leaving money in your account and telling yourself it's savings, actually go into your MyPay account and set up an allotment. So I have a allotment for like $1,500 a month that goes into a different bank account. Now that is for a lot of other stuff as well, but I know that that money does not get touched by my debit card, right? So set up an account that you're not going to touch and allot an amount of money and put it in there. And then as you build that money for savings, down the road you can invest it. So that's your capital for investing, that's your emergency fund, that's your don't need a credit card fund. Put it away, leave it there. I'm not going to say leave it in a savings account. There are other options. You can look at CDs, money markets, Vanguard, VTSAX, just a whole bunch of other stuff. But the important thing is that you're building money. Even if you're not saving it with a ton of interest, it's better than what you would be doing if it sat in your debit, in your checking account. Number 4, if you're a barracks Marine or barracks sailor or barracks soldier, barracks airman, whatever, if you live in the barracks, eat at the Chow-Hall. Right? Do not go out, maybe once a week, right? But don't go spend money on lunch. It is amazing. People here in Hawaii will spend $10 a meal at McDonald's, but the Chow-Hall is like $3 and it already came out of your paycheck. The food might not necessarily be, 5-star quality, but it's paid for. You can literally live in the barracks without a penny coming out for housing, food, insurance, whatever, unless you have a vehicle, and just save everything. I wish that I had done this. I was the idiot going to the food court, and oh my goodness, I could have saved so much money because I'm spending $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month on food for myself and still getting docked the $350 for the Chow-Hall. So eat at the Chow-Hall, eat at the Chow-Hall, just do it, right? Save the money. Okay, this is a good point. This is number 5. Live like a PFC no matter the promotion. So if you get your paycheck as a PFC and you're able to live on it, and then you get promoted to Lance Corporal, which is E2, E3, and then you increase your amount you're spending. Well, how about you don't? What if you just live as an E2, and then you get promoted to E3, and you take that extra money and allot it in your savings account? You're promoted to E4, allot that money into your savings account. Promoted to E5, allot that money in your savings account. If I had done this, and I was still able to live on a PFC salary right now, I would be saving an exorbitant amount of cash. I'm still saving a decent amount of money, but not nearly as much as if I had done that, because now my expenses have kind of grown, and this is a trap. So try to mitigate how much your expenses grow every time your income grows. So like a trick of the trade here would be if your income grows by $200, maybe you increase your expenses by 20, right? So like a 10%. So now you're saving 90% of your extra income every time you get a pay raise, which in the military comes pretty quick. It's like every year for your first 4 years, every promotion. You could get 2 pay raises every year for your first 4 years in the military. Number 6, volunteer for schools, field ops, and deployments. And here's why I say this. If you volunteer for schools, you probably get a little per diem. And then if you're smart with it, you can make a little bit of money back off that. If you volunteer for the field and you're out training, you're not spending any money. You're living on MREs, you're living on this. You might get docked for your Chow-Hall, but if you're a barracks Marine, you're already getting docked for that. So it forces you to not spend money. I think that's a good thing. Now you come out of the field, you got this big chunk of change, and then you do what the rest of us do, and you go buy a stupid tattoo. Just save it. Right? Like come out of the field, put it all away, and just live on your normal paycheck and just forget that money. And boom, your account just grew another $1,000. Deployments. You're getting tax-free money. You're getting extra pay, hazard pay, combat pay, per diem, separations pay. It really all depends. There's a lot of different paychecks and amounts that you can get. But save it. There's this cool savings account that you can do when you were deployed. It's like 10% guaranteed over the whole time you're gone. Helped me out, but then I bought a Harley. Had I taken all that money and just allocated it to my thrift savings plan, I would have done so much better. So I would suggest that if you're deployed, you look at bumping whatever your percentage is, just max it. So if you can go 50% on your TSP or more, whatever the max is for that $18,500, just do it the whole time you're deployed. You'll still save some money because you're not spending a penny. And then you come back and holy smokes, your TSP grew all this amount and you don't notice because you don't need to blow the money. All these guys come out from deployments, we go buy Mustangs and Camaros and big trucks and fancy this and fancy that. And that's cool. That's not setting you up for success. You want to get rich in the military. When you're getting extra pay, save it, right? And then invest it later. We'll talk to that later. All right, number 7, budget for beer. So this is great. Everybody loves beer, maybe not everybody, but I love beer. Budget for it, right? So I did this survey with a bunch of guys who got out of the military and did very well financially, and like the number one thing they all said they regret was spending too much money on booze. It's okay, guys. You can still have a good time. You can be the DD. You can have a couple drinks and just not get stupid. But if you go out every single night and you drink every single night, not only are you at risk for doing something dumb and getting fat, you're also at risk for just never saving any money, because it's like this perpetual hole, because alcohol is not cheap. And when you buy alcohol, you generally buy food, and then you buy this, and then you do this, and then you whatever. Instead of doing that, set a budget aside, take cash, 20, 40 bucks, whatever. I mean, you can go have a good time. Don't be the heavy roller. Let your buddy be the high roller, and just take cash and go have a good time. A responsible good time. Or you can volunteer to be the DD. Most bars give you free drinks, non-alcoholic. You hang out, you watch all your friends be idiots. They probably pay you for gas. They probably buy your meal. And you might actually make money to help keep your buddies safe, have an awesome time. You'll remember the time. You'll probably meet some cooler people because you're sober. And, just don't drink that much, right? So that was one thing they all recommended. So here's how you can save money by budgeting for beer. All right, number 8, and this is a little bit more complicated, the VA house hack. So if you are at a level where you get housing allowance, so a young officer, a staff NCO, married, whatever, look into utilizing your VA loan. Now, I'm about to put out some pretty solid content with the VA loan and why you should use it, benefits of using it, and how to use it, because there are ways that you could use your VA loan that would not end well. But use your VA loan and look into like a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex, and I know you got to deal with tenants. You don't have to deal with tenants if you're the landlord. Just have a property manager, never tell them you own it. Most of us are kind of loudmouths, so we're going to tell them, oh, this is my house. Whatever, that's on you. Live in the property, rent it, rent all the other units, whether it's a 2-unit, 3-unit, 4-unit, rent all the other units, and then let them pay your mortgage. And now you're pocketing your entire VAH. And then you're going to be smart and you're going to save the whole thing. Save it, save it, save it, invest it later. All right, number 9, the Mustang, and the Camaro, and the truck, and the Harley, and the motorcycle. Vehicles, guys. This one kind of hits home because I'm terrible about this. I've owned a truck, 3 cars, a race car, a daily driver, probably like 6 cars, a Harley I totaled. I'm pretty bad about buying vehicles, but I've gotten better over the years. I actually just own a 2012 Focus now. It's super efficient, super cheap, great car. I actually hate the car because it's just boring. I want a race car back, but it's a great car. It's a great family car. It's very reliable. It's very affordable. Buy a car, if you want the Mustang, great, but buy a car that is at least 3 years old so that it will have already depreciated like 30%. Then you won't end up upside down. Because if you buy a brand new car and over the next 3 years it depreciates 30% and you only pay off 10% of it, you're upside down. If you sell that car, you lose money. So buy a car that's like 3, 4, 5 years old, still reliable. Also, side note, then you will know if it's a lemon because all the kinks will have already come out and you know what you're getting. So buy this car and don't get financing from the dealership. Don't do it. Don't do it. Shop around with banks. Go there pre-approved. You'll get a much better rate. I have had car interest rates lower than 3%. I've had 2.9, I've had 2.6, I've had 2.7. I don't understand how people get 18, 19, 20% interest rates. The base here, when I took the financial course, they said the record was a 32% interest rate. Are you kidding me? 30% more than what your car costs? Like, that's insane. Why would you even think that was a good idea? Oh, I want to look cool with this car, but I'm not going to have any money. And no, buy a car. It can still be a cool car, but get financing somewhere else. Make it be a couple years old so that it's not quite as crazy priced. Let it depreciate. Let someone else pay for all the sticker prices and the markups and the this, the that, the other. Get a good price on a reliable car with a low interest rate on the payments, and I promise you will be a happy person. Or, and this is a super hack, first few years living in the barracks, don't buy a car. Your buddies will drive you to work. Your buddies will take you out here. Amazing. You're saving money. You're using their car. So this is the controversial one. So again, don't take it the wrong way. You want to talk about it, let's comment about it, let's work it out. Spouse. Marry intelligently. Now, I'm not going to tell you not to get married, although there is a lot that would go with saying, hey, there's something to be said for going your first 4 years without getting married, developing personally and professionally, being more confident in your skin, and just avoiding that turmoil that first few years where you're on that like high out of boot camp and you get married, and it's a big emotional thing. Now, obviously, there are emotions involved in relationships, but you have to be able to pull yourself away from those and think logically too. So I always talked about finding somebody that you can be with who does not need you in their life, but they want you in their life. And what I mean by that is, so when I met my wife, she already had a career. She already had a degree, well, 2 degrees. She's much more educated than I am. She already had a house. She had a kid. She had a life. And she was totally sufficient without me around. So she did not need me for finances or confidence or whatever. She just enjoyed being around me, which took a whole lot of stress out of the relationship and has taken stress out of our lives completely. But the real benefit there is that if you go away for a couple months, everything's going to be okay. She's also much more frugal than me. Now, in the book, The Millionaire Next Door, they did a bunch of surveys, and one of the things they found was that a huge proponent to people who are wealthy, millionaires, is that they all said, or a large chunk of them said, that their spouse was more frugal than they are. And to me, that speaks volumes, because we all know that service member who has a spouse that spends a lot of money and spends more than they earn. And I'm not saying that it's your money or it's their money or it's this, that, the other. You don't get into that battle. Just know that when you marry, you need to know how much debt you're marrying into, because that's going to be yours. And you need to know what kind of spending habits you're marrying into, because holy smokes, if you marry someone who's got to have a new pair of shoes, whether it's heels or Jordans or boots or whatever, every single week or month or whatever, it's going to suck you dry. And when they see that savings account, it's going to get ugly. So make sure you marry someone who's got minimal debt, decent spending habits, and I'm not going to tell you don't get married, but you need to have that conversation. Like, the number one reason people get divorced is over finances. So if you're marrying someone who's bad with finances and you're not yet good with finances, it's going to put a lot of unnecessary stress on you. So I would not tell you not to get married, but I would tell you that needs to be a financial decision as well. You need to be smart about it. You need to marry a stable person financially, emotionally, whatever, who can support you but does not need you in their life. So that is my controversial subject. Hopefully it doesn't stir the pot too much. Just have an open mind and just know that if you get into financial issues, bankruptcy, foreclosure, not having any money saved, saying that it's your spouse's fault and not yours might seem nice and easy, but the reality is it is both of your responsibility, whether it's your fault or not. So you need to know what you're getting into financially with a partner. That's a huge commitment. So make sure you're tracking on it. Be smart about it. Now, guys, if you follow these 10 steps, right, and you save a ton of money while you're in the military, and then you exit at 4 years, you have a fund in case stuff hits the fan. And you have a fund to invest. And if you stay in the military, I would say that once you hit that 4-year mark and you've got a decent amount of money in your bank account, man, you are ready to rock and roll, whether that is real estate investing, stock investing, just investing in the index funds, which I recommend over stocks personally because I'm a terrible stock investor. I've lost way more than I've ever made. Investing in a business, a side hustle, a vehicle that you can rent on Turo, a Ubering, or whatever the case may be, a side hustle, whatever you want to do. If you save up that money and you build that capital, you have options. And I would definitely recommend that you do that. And there is nothing that says that you can't get rich in the military. I actually have a buddy who saved over $120,000 in the military, plus maxing his TSP in his first 4 years. That's like $200 grand. Got out of the military, doing his own thing, and probably will never have to work again. And that's not because of that, but it's because of what he did with the money when he got out. But you can make a ton of money being smart in the military. You may not get rich in your first investment, but you'll set the building block and the foundation to make you wealthy. Be smart about it, guys. If you got questions, comments, concerns, I'd love to help you. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe, comment, and have a great day.